Time is running out for thousands of Floridians without jobs. The new pressure they're putting on state leaders before losing out on hundreds of dollars. Plus, calls grow louder for changes to the juvenile justice system just days after a shootout between two children and deputies. What changes, some say, can make the biggest long-term impact. I'm Tammy Fields. First off tonight, certified chief meteorologist Brian Carrick. He is tracking some thunderstorms out there tonight.
Yeah, Tammy, we briefly had a severe thunderstorm warning for far northwestern Flagler County. Really not impacting any of you watching right now, but some other storms are. And some of these thunderstorms that are developing along the Seabreeze collision are starting to put down some locally heavy rain and lightning, extending from basically southern Marion County through all of Sumter County, hit and miss, and new activity developing down into the Green Swamp. All of this heading off to the north. Coming up at 5:11, we will track out some of these showers and storms, plus take a look at your Friday and all-important weekend forecast. Tammy?
Thank you, Brian. In just a matter of weeks, 120,000 Floridians will lose their $300 a week federal unemployment benefits. Governor Ron DeSantis' administration putting an end to a program that Florida business lobby calls a disincentive to actually work. Well, today, a coalition is putting pressure on the governor to reverse course. Our state capitol reporter Troy Kinsey joins us live now from the capital city of Tallahassee. Troy, what is the case the coalition is actually making here? What's the latest?
Well, they're calling the federal stipend a lifeline, especially for professionals who have been looking for work in their fields but just can't find it, despite all those complaints about a growing labor shortage.
Not come back to
Their labor leaders, progressive lawmakers, and the unemployed themselves, all uniting today with a simple message for Governor DeSantis: reconsider.
Why on earth would any governor do this?
They want the governor to think twice about his planned phase-out of the federal unemployment compensation program, a program boosting state-level benefits by $300 a week. In fact, in Jim Reiser's case, it's the only payment he's getting because he ran his own company before the pandemic closed it. He was never entitled to state benefits to begin with.
To say that it's just we're doing nothing while banging our heads on a wall. Yeah, we are. But you know what? I still have hope. And without hope, I don't have much left.
Like more than 100,000 other Floridians, Reiser says he's been looking for work but just hasn't been able to find it. Not in his field, not suiting his qualifications. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of jobs in Florida are going unfilled. A labor shortage, the Florida Chamber of Commerce president says, has been exacerbated by the federal payments.
The argument that we should incentivize people for not working and allow them to make more than staying home than they would be to work, that's not the American way.
But the Florida AFL-CIO is calling that a false narrative, saying the math is clear. The enhanced federal benefits only amount to $3,300, and even without the governor's action, they'd expire at the beginning of September anyway. Not enough to live on indefinitely, but enough to get many people by.
You're going to end up putting people on the street. You better go to sleep tonight knowing that.
And this won't be the last time we hear from the coalition. Led by the AFL-CIO is launching what it calls a grassroots digital campaign to turn up the pressure on the governor even more. Back to you.
Troy, live for us in Tallahassee. Well, here's a closer look at those changes to unemployment benefits happening this month, which you can also find on the Spectrum News app. The governor's work search waiver expired last weekend. That means you now have to prove you're searching and applying for work to remain eligible for benefits. And another reminder, the $300 weekly extended federal unemployment benefits will stop on June 26th. This push for changes comes on the same day new unemployment numbers showed a new pandemic low for first-time claims. The Labor Department reports 385,000 people filed jobless aid claims last week. That's down 20,000 from the week before. Economists hope this trend continues to show in the May jobs report that's expected to be released on Friday.
First place to call me after like 150 applications, and I got hired on the spot.
Many Central Floridians tell us the job hunt has been anything but easy in recent months. Spectrum News 13's Greg Angel spoke with job seekers and business owners about the struggles both sides are facing. We'll show you where each side is compromising and seeing opportunity. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour in about 30 minutes. The case between the state of Florida and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention over the future of the cruise industry has reached an impasse, according to the governor's office. A mediator failed to settle the case after the CDC requested more time to relitigate, to which the state was concerned would hurt the cruise industry even more. The state originally filed the suit in April following the CDC issuing a no-sale order. Recently, the CDC has given the green light to some cruise lines, including Disney and Carnival. Breaking news to get to right now at this hour. An arrest has been made in connection with a hit and run that killed a woman in Lake Mary last month. We know the suspect arrested faces a murder charge. Investigators say the crash killed 35-year-old Katrina Redden. We're working to learn more about the person arrested. We'll update you just as soon as we learn more details. An update now to the shootout between Volusia County deputies and two children who ran off from a group home Tuesday night. The 12-year-old child will remain behind bars for at least 21 days. That child made a first appearance in front of a judge this morning. The judge found probable cause to charge the 12-year-old with attempted murder, aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, as well as armed burglary. As for the 14-year-old girl, that suspect, well, the sheriff's office says she remains in the hospital tonight. The state attorney's office is reviewing the cases against both children. Tonight, continued calls for changes to our juvenile justice system after that shootout with deputies. One children's mental health counselor calls the system broken. Spectrum News 13's Nicole Griffin is live for us tonight outside of the Volusia Regional Juvenile Detention Center. Nicole, that counselor doesn't believe one agency holds all the blame.
Tammy, that's absolutely right. She calls this shootout an absolute tragedy, and she says it speaks volumes about the change that is needed system-wide. Body camera video released Wednesday by the Volusia County Sheriff's Office shows when things went bad. Deputies dodging shots fired by a 12-year-old and 14-year-old.
It breaks my heart, and it tells us our system is failing our children.
Licensed mental health counselor Althea King says this is the result of a broken system, which needs to be identified.
Everyone that touched that child from the day they entered into the system until now is part of the solution.
She says the blame is not solely on the Department of Juvenile Justice, the courts, or the group home.
Early intervention is the key. It does not happen when they're 12 or 14. Majority of these problems have already begun at the earlier formative years where their brains are still developing, and that is when we need to make a significant impact to change behaviors.
She also says group homes like this one should not be looked at as permanent solutions and instead be temporary measures to rehabilitate kids in crisis.
By the time they're 12, it has to give a significant trauma to those children being removed, whether it's abandonment, rejection, and with that, so many things come from that. Anger, conduct, oppositional behaviors, and they will elope.
She says this is not just a Volusia County issue, but one counselors are seeing in youth everywhere. A problem she says needs to be addressed now with evidence-based treatment plans.
We will see as a community that when we put the effort in and we do what we're supposed to do, we will see the benefits from it on all ends.
We reached out to the Volusia County Sheriff's Office for an update on the 14-year-old. They say at last check, she is stable and still in the hospital. Reporting live in Volusia County, Nicole Griffin, Spectrum News 13.
After the shooting, Sheriff Chitwood also called for changes in the system. We reached out to Florida's Department of Juvenile Justice about that. The communications director responded, calling the case tragic, but said this wasn't a DJJ facility, which is actually true, although they do partner with them for care. That spokesperson saying in this statement you see here, quote, when a youth is arrested in Florida, the courts determine whether or not they're held in secure detention or released into the community. We also made calls to numerous state lawmakers with the power to start discussions about change. None have returned our calls. In 1920, a racist attack on black families in Central Florida aimed to stop them from voting. You may know the bloody event as the Ocoee Massacre. Now, 100 years later, descendants of those victims are getting reparations, payback in the form of scholarships. Spectrum News 13's Rachel Krause is joining us live now from Ocoee tonight. Rachel, this is a day long awaited by these families.
Yeah, Tammy, announcing the scholarships here today, Senator Randolph Bracy says he is grateful they were able to get this legislation passed to offer thousands of dollars in funding to 50 kids a year. He says this is a new day for the community.
Words cannot express it. I guess you can you feel the emotion from me? Can you sense it? That's the spirit that's within us.
Ken Thompson calls Ocoee home an important choice for his family. A descendant of the Brown family who were run out of town here and had their land stolen during the Ocoee Massacre. Thompson says today is an important step toward reconciliation for what happened a century ago.
I lived long enough, I'm 77 plus, and I've lived long enough to see it with my own eyes and participate in the healing process. And it is a process.
These scholarships made possible by legislation signed into law Wednesday by Governor Ron DeSantis serve as reparations for what happened in 1920.
To try to make right what happened to the victims of the massacre is going to be life-changing for many, especially myself as well.
Ocoee High School graduate Rain Bellamy says it's an important step forward.
Being able to graduate college with a little less debt or without debt is a type of freedom in this country.
Thompson says this money will help return a small portion of the power that was stolen from his family and others all those years ago.
The descendants of the ones stole those things from us, a benefit from them. That's unfortunate. And I think there's a reckoning due. Clarification needs to be done. Not only the knowledge of it, but to do something about it. And this city chose to do, I think, just that.
African-American students in Ocoee, as well as descendants of the Ocoee Massacre, will be able to begin applying for these annual scholarships starting next month. Reporting live in Ocoee, Rachel Krause, Spectrum News 13.
Certified Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick joining us again, talking about some much needed rain.
Yeah, Tammy, some of us picking up decent rainfall, and if you didn't pick it up today, we've got another